Hi, everyone. Welcome to question 7 of the regex discussion worksheet. So let's get into it. So here I'll be using a notebook that Kunal, one of the other TAs, has made. And I just got rid of all the other questions that I'm not going to be making videos for. But this just will make things easier to kind of allow us to check to see whether or not things work. And then I also have regex 101 pulled up here. And both the notebook and regex 101 are great tools for working with regex. So question 7. Question says, given that some text is a string, use re.sub to replace all clusters of non-val characters with a single period. For example, if we have this string, a big moon, comma, between us, ... it would be changed to a.i.u.e.e.u. Because we have some non-vowels here, some non-vowels here, some non-vowels here, and so on. And all of these will be replaced by periods. So the first thing, there's a number of ways you can kind of approach this problem, but the first thing I would do is try and come up with a regex expression, our pattern, that will allow us to find all these cases where we see characters that are not vowels. So I've already kind of, I've put in our test string here. And the first thing we need to do is to say, okay, well, what's not a vowel? Well, we can use what's called we can use the bracket notation to say, all the characters in this bracket. But what we can also say is we can precede our bracket with a caret, and we can say all characters that are in this bracket, we actually don't want to match any of them. We want to match anything but, and that's because we're using this caret. So we can say, well, we don't want A, E, I, O, U, and it doesn't really say in our the problem description, but we might want to get rid of all capitals too. So there you have it. Now it looks like everything that's not a vowel is highlighted. So we've kind of matched everything that's not a vowel. But the next thing we need to do, we're not quite done yet. The next thing we need to do is that each of these non-vowels has to be replaced by a single period. So each sequence of non-vowels will be replaced by a single period. So we don't just want to match the individual characters that are not vowels. We want to match all of the sequences that are not vowels. And the way you can do this, it's very straightforward. We can just add plus notation. And now you see the difference. So before we had 17 matches, now we're down to 6 matches. And that's because we've used this plus notation to say we want to match anything that's not a vowel one or more times. That's what this plus that's what this plus means. You can read the description here. And it looks like this is what we want. This looks like a pretty good pattern. So we can just copy this. We'll throw it in here. Okay, so it looks like we have a pattern. Well, the next thing we need to do is we need to use re.sub. So again, re comes from the regex module, re, that you import. It's a Python default module that you import. And it says use re.sub. Okay, awesome. Let's just briefly look at the documentation. It's re.sub. Re.sub, replace strings. Let's see, can I get a Stack Overflow example? Okay. Okay, so it looks like we have our pattern. So if we call re.sub, it looks like we put in our pattern, which in this case, called it regex 9 for whatever reason. Whatever we want to replace it with, and then looks like in this case, this guy's trying to replace like characters in a file name, but in this case, file is the string that we want to replace from. So in this case, it would be some text. So we can just import that in, regex 9, something that we want to replace it with, and then some text. And if we just run it like this, then we don't see the dots. And the easiest way to get around that, just replaced with a dot, and now you have it. So the way read.sub kind of works is that it looks at your pattern for all the unique matches that it finds. So in this case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It will replace that match with whatever you put in here. In this case, a period. So yeah, that's question 7.